What a day it was out in Sin City in Las Vegas. We had the USA Showcase, the nightcap in men's basketball against Team Canada, in day number 2 of Big 12 Media Days, day number 1 of Mountain West Media Days, and after hours with the Pac-12, the Beavs and the Cougs of Oregon State and Washington State. So much to get to here in this collegiate capsule where we look at Donnie Rightside favorite stop on the sports calendar. That's Media Days around the nation in college football. Of course, one of the highlights yesterday on day number 2 of Big 12 Media Days at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Las Vegas Raiders in Sin City, Deion Sanders. Year number 2 of the prime era in Boulder just about to begin. And Deion Sanders, DRS, at the podium yesterday, was asked about his expectations for the season and how he is judged and the success level that Colorado is judged by in college football as well.
Yes, I'm judged on a different scale. My wins are totally different than your wins. Your wins, you just judge in football. That's why I have to start out and give you education and academics and so forth. I have to give you those things so you understand there's a greater scope. I can't win 9 games and our GPA suffers. Our GPA can't be high, but we lose another 8 games. We can't not go and grab high school players and you got a bunch of guys in the portal, out of the portal that's getting incarcerated. My wins are different. We have to win in every area. That's the way we're judged. And I'm cool with that because we come a little different.
Tony, I don't actually disagree with what Deion Sanders is saying. With all the attention and notoriety that is paid to this Buffs football program, each and every individual win is not just a win for a college football team to start off the season. It adds on a layer of significance because it generates national conversation. What are your reactions to what Deion Sanders had to say yesterday at Big 12 Media Days?
Yeah. I mean, he is a media guy. He's always been in the media, one of the best football players we've ever seen on the field, and he sort of brings that attention to himself. Now, also coupled with the fact where when they got to Colorado, talking about Deion's team, and that includes a lot of videographers, they made it a point. We're going to put this like a reality show. So, of course, they're going to judge you different than other teams at this point because we see more about Colorado, and you make it a point to go on talk shows and to fly around the country and go on pregame shows to talk up your program. That's why he's making so much money. That's why Colorado is sold out every single game, even if the results aren't measuring up. But no, nobody cares about GPA across any other football team anymore at this point here. So I think what he's basically saying is, I got a good football team, and my team stunk before I got there. I got a couple wins. A lot of people would be praised for how many wins they got at Colorado, but I'm not doing that. But also, when you and sometimes we don't do any service here. If you would have said, okay, we honestly know what TCU will be by the end of the season, maybe it wasn't such a big win opening weekend, which put Colorado on that pedestal to begin with, when maybe they didn't really beat a great football team at that time. But it's college football. You can't complain about being in the spotlight when you want to be in the spotlight.
And I think that's the key, right? Deion Sanders, the guy that was the most exaggerated individual from the very start of his NFL career. Yeah. Dress good, feel good, play good. That's who he has always been. He understands how to use the media attention. And he himself, Prime, makes no bones about it. As you heard there, he's not running from the attention. He understands it. He is cool with it. I commend Deion Sanders for what he has done. I think it's the overall organization, though, right? Because you can talk the talk, but then you got to walk the walk. Shedeur Sanders, his son and his quarterback, meeting with some media members yesterday, was asked about the level of notoriety in rising to the occasion. And Shedeur said, we're everybody's Super Bowl. Well, you can't be everybody's Super Bowl and lose 8 Super Bowls then. You can't talk all the smack that you do and not deliver. But that's the fascinating thing to me, DRS, about CU. In the final year of Carl Durrell, before Deion Sanders became the head coach in Boulder, Colorado was the worst FBS football program, certainly at the Power 5 level. They won a single game. They were 1-11. So a 4-8 record the following year after a ton of roster turnover should only be seen as improvement and success. But with how Colorado did it, it does leave a little bit to be desired. They won their first 3 games of the year. They were the entirety of the conversation in September last year in college football. They got beat big by Oregon in week number 4. They lost to USC in a high-scoring affair the following week. They won their first game of October against ASU and never won again. A 4-2 start quickly became a disappointing 4-8 season. So now we talk about the Buffs in 2024. 5.5 is the win total. The over has the hefty juice at minus 158. If the odds makers are correct, DRS, that's bowl eligibility for a second-year head coach that had a huge elevation to the FBS and Power Conference level, now in the Big 12, and a team that just 2 seasons ago won only a single game. That should be deemed success, but in your estimation, is 6 wins in a bowl appearance enough to satisfy that thirst in Boulder?
It should be this year because, and again, I don't get into the roster construction of what they have going forward next year. But the one thing I do know is they have a quarterback that's projected to be in the first round and in the upper part of that first round. And if you have a 5.5 win total, you should automatically get that with one of the best players in the country here. But having said that, there's a lot of turmoil on this team, and it doesn't necessarily come from Deion himself. There's a lot of roster turnover from guys getting out of the portal, in the portal, and also there's a lot of coaching turnover from last year, what we saw into this year. That usually turns out the same. And when you're trying to take a look at the games that you play, as Deion joked about, and he's actually right about this, hey, AD, you're supposed to give me a layup in game number 1 at home. NDSU is not a layup at home as they're going to start that season. Now, granted, I do pick on the Big 12 because I don't think it's a great football conference overall. But when you look at that schedule, like there's decent opponent after decent opponent after decent opponent. So my first instinct would say, of course, they should get 6 wins. Then I look at that schedule and say, well, I actually don't know where the 6 wins come from here at this point. So for me, again, you have a quarterback that's supposed to be an upper-level NFL talent here. You should win 6 games. But then I look at the schedule and say, I don't know if 6 wins are on there. But then again, I'm not saying, hey, look, I really went through with a fine-tooth comb this schedule and also the team players that they have that are going to be playing next year. Yes, they should land at 7. This is going to be a tough season for him. And if they do make a bowl, that's going to be well-deserved.
Absolutely so. But with the attention that Colorado brings, I wonder how we judge success, thus going to Deion's point that a win is not just simply a win. I couldn't agree more. Shedeur Sanders, 40-1 to win the Heisman Trophy, thought by many to be a top 5, top 10 pick next year in the NFL draft. Travis Hunter, the best two-way player in college football, maybe the only two-way player in college football, 65-1 to win the Heisman Trophy, probably a top 10 pick in the 2025 NFL draft as well. Baylor's Dave Aranda yesterday at Big 12 Media Days as well. Baylor's been on a recent successful run in recruiting. And when Aranda was asked why, he said it was pretty simple. We're paying players. I love Dave Aranda's candor. What say you, Donnie?
It's fantastic. But you know me. I always say, just be real with us here. Don't say we outworked everybody. He made a point like, yes, I'm a good football coach. I'm a good recruiter. But what's the difference? I can walk into somebody's home and say, I'll give you $350,000 to come be my right guard. That is going to help. If you remember back in the day, right, Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze, how the heck did Ole Miss suddenly become the best recruiting power? Hugh Freeze lied and goes, we just outworked every SEC team. No, you paid everybody more money than everybody else in the SEC. I love when coaches give candor and honesty. Thank you, Dave Aranda. Love to see it.
It certainly was the case. Then late night in Sin City, the remaining Pac-2, Washington State and Oregon State, throwing after hours with the Beavs and Cougs that featured an open bar because, as new Commissioner Teresa Gold had to say, if anybody deserves a drink, it's the Pac-12. Donnie loves it. Wish he could have been there.